What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we've got our Week 13 fantasy football running back starts and sits for every single matchup, so make sure to tune in. If you enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at alldaypigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear it in the comment section. Do you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have? We'll do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, let's get right into it. Before getting into our breakdown, I want to highlight the sponsor of today's video, OddsJam. OddsJam continues to be the place that I use for all of my sports betting research, from the NFL, NBA, MLB, to daily fantasy and everything in between. But don't just take my word for it. Let me show you firsthand all the amazing tools OddsJam has to offer. Starting with their positive EV tool, which identifies situations where a single sportsbook has mispriced their line compared to the rest of the market. They're basically willing to pay a lot more so that you bet with them compared to the other sportsbook. At the end of the day, you're getting the best odds, essentially a mathematical edge and guaranteed money in the long run. But also available is OddsJam's arbitrage tool, which shows situations where the market is so mispriced that you can bet on both sides and guarantee a risk-free return. OddsJam's calculators show you exactly how much you have to bet on the over and under and what the respective guaranteed risk-free return would be. There's also OddsJam's Sportsbook tool, which consolidates all available market info, over 200 sportsbooks, and provides updates in real time and allows you to see line movement. But my personal favorite is their Fantasy Optimizer tool, which is great for those using PrizePicks, Underdogs, or other daily fantasy sites, as you get to see discrepancies between all of these sportsbooks. Imagine, PrizePicks has a Patrick Mahomes line at 200.5 passing yards, and all other books like FanDuel and Underdog have this line at 230 passing yards. Well, getting the over 200.5 on PrizePicks would be an absolute steal. Guess what? OddsJam does that for you. And the good news is, if you sign up today and use our code PIGSKIN, check the link and promo code in the description of this video, you will get 25% off your first month. OddsJam also has a 7-day free trial, so you get to try before you buy. So don't waste any more time and sign up for OddsJam using our code PIGSKIN today. Now, we kick off Week 13 on Thursday with the Seahawks at the Cowboys. And as far as the running backs are concerned here, I'm mainly focusing on Tony Pollard with the Cowboys. These last 2 weeks, he has had good outings. And we said, look, with Tony Pollard, yes, he had a stretch of poor performances, but the opportunity is there, and the schedule was turning for the Dallas Cowboys in terms of more favorable matchups, and this is another one of those, in my opinion. I think Tony Pollard could be a high-end running back 2 for the third week in a row, so I like this game for him. I think the Cowboys can pull away as the game progresses, and Tony Pollard can go ahead and wear down this defense even more than what we've seen in games past. So I like Tony Pollard here. As far as the Seahawks, look, Kenneth Walker missed this last week. It's a short turnaround, so I wouldn't be shocked if he misses this game, or even if he does play, him being less than 100%, which leads to kind of a running back by committee with Charbonnet. And honestly, my biggest worry here in general is that, let's say that Walker doesn't play. I still think that this game is going to be one where the game script of rushing the football for the Seahawks kind of goes out the window pretty quickly. I wouldn't be shocked if this thing turns into a blowout where Seattle just has to air out the football continuously, and the rushing production just isn't there for Charbonnet, for Walker, for a combination of the two. That's why I'm sitting the Seattle backfield. Then Colts at the Titans. I'll start Jonathan Taylor here. He had a good game this last week, 2 rushing touchdowns, had twice as many carries as Zach Moss. So, he's kind of taking over in that backfield again. And that's why I have Zach Moss as a sit. Jonathan Taylor is going to see the primary work here. I think he is low on running back 1 for the Titans. Derrick Henry had a good outing. However, it was versus the Carolina Panthers. So take that with, a grain of salt. I would start him here, primarily in standard scoring formats. I think he can find the end zone. I don't think the rushing yards are going to be anything crazy, but he's going to be a focal point of this offense. So I'm going to go with Derrick Henry. I think he can be a low to mid-level running back 2 on the week. Then Falcons at the Jets. I will start Bijan Robinson. Look, he finally was one of the focal points of this Falcons offense this last week. I think he can do it again versus the Jets. All the Jets have is, a defense, but that defense can only get them so far. As the game progresses, they wear down and opposing teams start to chip away at them. So I think Bijan Robinson here is in a good situation to be a high-end running back too. I will also start Breece Hall for the Jets. Now, this might seem crazy. Now, I'm not saying the Jets are going to have an offensive explosion. No, I would say it's going to be very similar to what we saw from them last week. It's going to be ugly. The rushing attack is not going to be there. But you're not starting Breece Hall because of what he's going to do on the ground. You're going to start him because he's going to catch 7 to 8 passes, because that's how horrendous the Jets quarterback situation is, with Boyle just dinking and dumping everything to Breece Hall. Only start Breece Hall in PPR formats. If you're in a standard format, do not start Breece Hall. He has pretty much zero pure rushing upside. So there is my warning with Breece Hall. And then Tyler Algier, I would sit him. I think Bijan Robinson, again, he's the primary guy. Algier, more so a handcuff. Afterwards, Lions at the Saints. I like this game as far as the running backs are concerned. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. With both of them healthy, it's kind of, the situation of they're going to take turns. One guy having a big game, but they're both going to be getting, I would say, around 12, 13, 14 carries apiece. The guy that's really going to pop is the one that has the touchdown success. I would say that's higher possibility for Montgomery, but still, both these guys on a good offense, I would say, are a mid-level running back too, with much higher upside. And for the Saints, you continue to roll out Alvin Kamara. In PPR, he's been great. And if Chris Olave misses any time, I could see a big uptick for him, high floor in terms of the pass catching situation. Also with Michael Thomas being on IR, a good situation for Alvin Kamara. Then Broncos at the Texans. I'll only start Javonte Williams here. The Texans defense doesn't scare me. So from that perspective, I think Williams can be okay. I think he's due for some touchdown success as well. I would have him as a low-end running back too. For the Texans, Singletary and Dameon Pierce, I have as sits. This Broncos defense, stingy. And the Texans, unless, it's been a situation where the matchup kind of calls for it, they've been airing out the football for the majority of the season. And now that Dameon Pierce is back, both these guys are kind of getting play equal, even though I think Singletary has played much better. He went on a run with Dameon Pierce out where he was, the number one overall running back. So, however, the Texans are obviously not going to just throw away Dameon Pierce. And so with both of these guys playing, I'm worried about the situation, and I think this Broncos defense is going to stop the Texans' rushing attack, so C.J. Stroud is going to have to do it all through the air again, and I just don't see Singletary catching 5, 6 balls again through the air on a week-to-week basis. Then Chargers at the Patriots. You start Austin Eckler. I realize he's coming off one of his worst performances of the year, but look, the Ravens defense will do that to you. Here, I think he's going to bounce back versus the Patriots. I will start him confidently as a RB1. For the Patriots, I'll start Ramondre Stevenson. We said this with the Patriots, and specifically Stevenson. He was slow out the gate to start off the year, but his schedule, another running back with a very favorable schedule to end out the year. I think he can be a mid to high-end running back too here. Ezekiel Elliott just not getting enough usage. He is a sit. Then Cardinals at the Steelers. I'll start all the guys here. James Conner for the Cardinals. I know he's coming off a very bad performance, but the Cardinals got blown out in that game. The Steelers are not going to blow out anyone. Like, their max output of points to be scored is going to be 20, and that I feel like that's at most. That's the ceiling. So this game is not going to be one where the Cardinals have to abandon the run. That's a good thing for James Conner. I think he's going to be a mid to high-end running back too. And then for the Steelers, both Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren getting the usage. Ever since the Steelers said Jaylen Warren was their starting running back, it seems like Najee Harris has played a lot better, and he's actually putting up the RB1 numbers. But the fact of the matter is they're both fantasy viable right now, especially in this matchup versus the Cardinals defense. So I think they can both be low-end running back twos. Whoever has the touchdown is going to have that higher ceiling, obviously. And I think that's, you're looking at Najee Harris in that category. Then Dolphins at the Commanders. I'm only looking at the Dolphins rushers here, Raheem Mostert, and if he plays A-Chain for Miami. Look, he's been explosive, but he's been dealing with injuries, so you can put a pin on that. You have to track his status, but Mostert, I think, is a smash play, and he needed some garbage time last week in order to put together a strong performance, but he did nonetheless. The Commanders don't scare me defensively, so I like Mostert as a high-end running back too. For Washington, however, I don't like this game. I think it could be a blowout where Washington has to air out the football like we saw this last week. That's not a good situation for Brian Robinson and or Antonio Gibson. So for me, they are both sits. Then Panthers at the Buccaneers. Only one name you want to consider here. Really, as far as the Buccaneers are concerned, you only want to start those guys in this matchup. The Panthers have been god-awful, whether it's on the ground, through the air, whatever the case might be, especially as of late. And right now, with them firing head coaches, firing coordinators, it's bad. You have no idea how this backfield is going to play out. You have no idea who's going to be given the opportunities. Stay away from the Panthers. Rushers, wide receivers, it's a situation to avoid. For the Buccaneers, Rachaad White is a great start, in my opinion. I think he's a low-end running back one versus the worst team in football in the Panthers. Then 49ers at the Eagles. This one's nice, easy. Christian McCaffrey, no-brainer start. He's been the number one running back all season long. I expect that will continue here. I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair, so that's a good thing for McCaffrey. For Philly, DeAndre Swift, I think he's probably in the mid to high-end running back 2 conversation. It really depends on how this game starts for the Eagles. That's going to dictate whether Swift is being utilized, how heavily he's being utilized, and if Jalen Hurts, vultures away some touchdowns from him like he did this last week. But either way, you could do a lot worse than Swift. Afterwards, Browns at the Rams. I'm only starting Kyren Williams, who's coming off one of the most insane games you're going to see all season long. I mean, so is he going to duplicate that? No, but he's a solid RB1. We said go trade for this guy while he was injured, because once he came back off of IR, it would pay off, and boy, has it so far. And we think it will continue until the end of the season. So he's an RB1. For the Browns, it's tough. Without Deshaun Watson, with the quarterback carousel, I just don't trust Jerome Ford and or Kareem Hunt. I think the carries are going to be more equal than we want to see. I think the Rams can cause issues for the Browns defensively, so I'm really just fading this backfield right now with Ford and Kareem Hunt. Then Chiefs at the Packers. I'm only starting Pacheco here for Kansas City. The Packers don't scare me. I think that while we're not going to see 2 touchdowns from Pacheco every single week, you're going to get a low to mid-level running back 2 performance from him. For the Packers, Aaron Jones, he didn't play this last week, banged up. He might not play again, even if he does. Less than 100% with A.J. Dillon there. I don't like the situation. Even if Jones doesn't play, A.J. Dillon being the primary guy, he's not the type of guy that's going to, I think, really be able to take advantage of this type of matchup in terms of, the Packers airing out the football and him being as good of a pass catcher as Aaron Jones. So I just don't like the Packers rushers here. Then Bengals at the Jaguars. I'm only looking at Travis Etienne. I think that the Jaguars can pull away in this game. And Etienne, high-end running back 2, low-end running back 1. Unfortunately, the value for Joe Mixon is kind of dead in the water now with Joe Burrow being out for the year. We saw it versus the Steelers. It ain't going to get any prettier. So I think Joe Mixon, unless the Bengals are playing the worst of the worst, is going to be a sit for the majority of the season. But with that, we wrap up our Week 13 fantasy football running back starts and sits for every single matchup. If you guys enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at alldaypigskin. Continue interacting with us there. Let us hear in the comment section, do you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have. We'll do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, we'll see you guys in future videos.